M1 Finance weaknesses. I'll share them. So here we are in my M1 Finance portfolio, and I'm going to go into some weaknesses, but I think that's the wrong word. I don't want to say cons either. Maybe idiosyncrasies might be the correct word. Because it's not necessarily a weakness. You just got to know the way M1 Finance runs. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples of some things I don't necessarily like. But they're not huge. They're not big deals, especially for the long-term buy and hold type investor. I still think M1, all the pros of it, I believe, far outweigh these idiosyncrasies. So, this is my M1 Finance pie. Now, you'll notice I don't have a whole lot in it, and you'll notice this huge drop, and it's really it was because I sold out to concentrate on funding my Roth, and I wanted to fully fund that for the year. And now that I've done that, I am going to start concentrating a little bit more on this, on M1 Finance. But to share with you some of the things that I don't care for in M1, it might be the way I have my portfolio set up. I'm not sure. But you look here, I have a pie called long term, and in that pie are different slices that I've made other pies in, which I broke down into sectors. And if you look here, here's one of the idiosyncrasies of having it set up this way, and it's in my technology sector, and we'll go into that. I had two holdings in technology. It was Apple and Intel, and I had roughly I forget what it was, 19% allocation to it at the time. And what I wanted to do was just sell out of Apple, and I did. And I figured what they would do, I guess that's what I get for thinking, I thought they would, since I dropped the target down to 10% and I sold out of Apple, that would take the proceeds of Apple and distribute it across the pie. Well, it didn't do that. Even though I put my target down to 10%, it still just bought all of Intel, which I didn't really want it to do. So that's one. And it might be the way I have this set up. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's why. Because I have pies within a pie. So I think my next video, actually after I'm done with this video, I'm going to break this up and just to make it one pie without the separate sectors. Next thing is, a lot of people think M1 Finance, you buy the dip or dollar cost average. I kind of disagree with that if you have multiple holdings, and I'll give you a couple of examples. If you have just one fund, so you just hold the S&P 500, yes, you're going to dollar cost average. It's going to buy on the dips. It's going to buy when it's high. It's going to buy when it's low. Because you'll have 100% allocation to the one fund. But what I've noticed, like, let's go into consumer defensive right here. I have a 20% allocation to it, and I have two stocks in here that are equal weighted, and I put them in at the same time. And I have a 50-50 allocation to both Archer Daniels Midland and Pepsi. Now, if you notice, I'm down a lot more on Archer Daniels Midland than I am on Pepsi. But then you come over here and you'll look at the actual number to your target. So even though I'm down, this says 10%. It's not. I don't like the way they do their money weighted averages either. But even though I'm down $2.41, it still makes up 50.5% of my target. And even though Pepsi's not down as much, it's under the target. So what M1 Finance is going to end up doing is it's going to end up buying Pepsi, which I'm not much down on, as opposed to buying the dip, which Archer Daniels Midland has been in, because all it's worried about is your target. It doesn't care about this number right here, the gain in return. So it has no care in the world whether one of your stocks has gone down. All it cares about is where your target is. So it wants to keep you in this target, whether or not that's good or bad. Let's see, is there another one that I can think of? Industrial is another one. I have two companies in here. Same thing, 3M and CAT. Well, this one will do it a little bit better, but still, look at this. I'm down, it says 11%. I'm almost down double what 3M is, but it's still going to just give you that 50%. It's still going to just get you that target. So it doesn't really care what your gain in return is. It only cares that you're in the target. So to counter that, you either have to go in and buy it manually, because you can buy the stock manually. You can go in and just click buy. Or if you wanted to buy the pie, you can just, buy the entire pie. Let me think. What else is it? Let's go back into it. So we have that. We have the waiting. And, the big thing to me is not having a limit order, not having limit orders. So you cannot control what you buy stocks for, what price you pay for them. From my understanding, M1 and every other brokerage, there's a couple of them that offer fractional shares. You are not buying a fractional share on the market. M1 has to buy a whole share, and then they divvy it up to you. So, what that price is, I think this is where M1 makes some of their money, which is fine. It's probably, if you're talking $100 here, $200 there, you're probably talking pennies. But I don't like the transparency, the lack of transparency. I wish there was a little more transparency on what you are buying it for, because M1 can go in and say, oh, okay, we need to buy 10,000 shares of Pepsi today. If we can, I'm sure there's ways that they can get it at a certain price, and then by the time they divvy it up to give all their accounts the fractional shares, I'm sure there's a spread there that they get some profit from. So there's only one other thing that I don't like, and I don't advise people to do, is use expert pies. And the reason why, like if you went in here and just did an ultra aggressive pie, they're good pies, but you cannot adjust the targets. So if you wanted to use one of these pies, I suggest to create your own, use them, and set your own targets You can match the targets if you want. So, but that just means so. What that would do is in the future, you could adjust or get rid of a holding or adjust the target percentages. If you just invested into this, you cannot adjust these target percentages. They're set, which might be a good thing because that's another weakness. I won't call it weakness. It's another. This one actually I might consider a weakness because this pie system really, it's really kind of fun to mess with, and for long-term investors, messing with your portfolio as much like I do all the time. Like I got rid of my utilities sector here. I did that because I want to put it in my Roth, and I got rid of Apple. I mean, should I have really gotten rid of Apple? I don't know. It just seemed like a good idea at the time with all the China war, trade war tensions, etc. So, next video, I'm going to start doing updates on M1. And right after this video, I'm going to break this pie into pie up and just have it listed as all single stocks. Make sure my weightings are correct. And maybe we'll start doing some more. I'll start making more deposits into this thing, and we'll track it. Anyway, that's all I got. I hope you like it. If you like, please comment, share, subscribe. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.